Travelers, it's Amanda here. Before we jump into this week's episode, we want to let you know that this episode was originally scheduled to be launched on July 26th of 2024. If you don't know, that's the same day that the voice actor strike happened. So, on July 25th, from a family beach house, I called fellow hosts and we made the decision to hold the episode until after the voice actor strike had ended. We're really excited to finally show you guys our interview with Corina, but please keep in mind that some of the dates and some of the content might not be as relevant. Nonetheless, we're really excited to bring this to you. Enjoy!
Astra Travelers, welcome to Teyvat.
Today, we're at Angel Share, and you may have noticed that we have a special guest with us here today. We're here with the one and only Corina Boettger, better known in Teyvat as Paimon.
While Corina is best known by travelers for playing our favorite travel buddy and backup emergency food, you may also know them from their roles in One Punch Man, Pokemon Journeys, Sailor Moon Sailor Stars, Tower of Fantasy, Digimon Adventure, and many, 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 many more.
Hey, if you're looking for some visuals to go along with your listening experience, then float on over to our website. It's talesofteyvat.com, where each episode has its own dedicated page curated by Tiff.
Our site also includes links to our previous episodes, all of which include an artist spotlight for each topic and some other goodies.
Finally, feel free to email us at talesofteyvatpod@gmail.com to let us know what you think of this week's episode and if you'd like to see more interviews like this. But let's jump into it. Thank you, Corina, for coming on. We are so appreciative of you coming and spending your time with us. But Corina, let's jump right into it. So you play the first person that we meet in Genshin Impact.
I honestly don't know if Paimon is a person. We don't know. So here's the thing. I am told as little as possible, as basically, and this is like common when you're a voice actor in video games. You are told as little as possible, especially on a game that is continuous. So that way, hopefully, because like, don't get me wrong, we sign NDAs, but also like, there have definitely been times where people will come up to me and talk to me about something. I'm like, wait, is that still under technically NDA or not? Is that out yet? Can I talk about that yet? So I'm told as little as possible. I don't even know what Paimon is.
How does it feel to be the first character we meet then?
There we go. I mean, that's always like a fun thing to kind of like be in a world of like, we're going to introduce you to this crazy fantasy place and everything is new and here it is. Here you go. So, I mean, it's always fun to kind of be like that opening sequence. Not that I'm like the first character you meet, and also like another game that I'm in called The Somnium Files, but I'm definitely like a big character that you meet in a big moment. And funny thing is, I don't talk for that moment either, but you do see my character. And it's kind of like the same thing of just kind of be like, whoa, okay, cool. This is like a thing now. Okay, we're in it.
And when you were cast as the voice of Paimon, did you have any expectations that the game would do as well as it has?
No, because you can't really, like, when you're first starting out in a game, especially one from, because I believe, because I definitely could be wrong. I don't know the whole history of Hoyoverse, but like, I believe before that there was like Honkai the Third, and I had never heard of it. And it was, it had like, 100,000 followers on Twitter. And like, I looked that up and I was like, oh, okay, so this will be like, a fun little game. I didn't even realize that I was going to be on a game that was going to be continuous for 10 years.
Wow.
That's like, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like I look it up on Twitter at one point and like it also has 100,000 followers before it was even out on the beta. And I was like, oh, that's actually pretty impressive that it has 100,000 followers before the beta is even out. And then the beta comes out and all of a sudden there's like 2 million. And I'm like, oh my goodness.
Did Hoyo give you like a timeline at some point where they like, oh, by the way, this is going to be a 10-year project?
Basically, I was recording for, say 3 months, which is like average for a normal video game. And then they were like, okay, you're done. And I'm like, did we save the sibling? But you know what? Like sometimes games have weird, maybe my character's just gone. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I guess I'm done now. Bye. I didn't realize it was an ongoing thing. And then all of a sudden I get asked to come back. but it specifically did say pickups, which is normal. They're like, oh yeah, you have to come back for pickups. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's normal. It's like a month later and we're going to do pickups and stuff. And then we do the pickups. And then I'm thinking, okay, we're done now, right? Like, it's weird that I have a 4-hour block of pickups and we're done in 30.
Right.
And I'm like, why did they get me for 4 hours? They know they have to pay me for that, right? Like, when you schedule it, you have to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And usually it's not 4 hours for pickups, but whatever. We're done in 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, we're done. And the director goes, oh yeah, we're done with pickups. Now we're on to 1.2. And I'm like, what do you freaking mean? What do you mean 1.2? He's like, oh yeah, it's the continuation. And I'm like, oh, okay. Cool, right? Because we didn't save the sibling yet. I guess that makes sense. So how long will we be recording this for? And he at the time was like, that's a joke, right? And I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean, Chris? And he's like, Corina, we're gonna be recording this for at least 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And I was like,
Ooh.
wait, what?
Like, let me pencil that into my planner.
Yeah, I had no idea that we were going to be doing this as a continuous thing on a regular basis. And so it kind of hit me then, which was the beginning of 2020.
Oh, wow.
Wow, yeah.
So it's been almost 5 years since we first started recording.
And we haven't even gotten to Nat long yet.
And blessed.
Yup.
Do you remember how far you got in recording when it actually came out?
I think when it finally came out, we were starting to record the Huttow script.
Okay.
Oh.
I love Huttow.
That's like one of my favorite scripts that we've done.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Because I remember laughing so hard that I was literally crying on the floor. Because I was like, who is this person? Like, I get it. Mortuaries exist. Like, people have to sell coffins. I get that. That's not the issue. The issue was, why is she offering 2 for 1?
Coffins are expensive.
Yeah, but what? And then also, like, she was like, oh, and if you plan it and pay in advance, I'm planning my own death now? What?
Yeah.
It's like on Tuesday of next month.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, let me just pencil that I'm going to die of natural causes on this day at this time. Like, what? So yeah, I was laughing hysterically.
We just recorded an episode on Huttow and we were all cracking up about that. I was wondering, if it's like a group situation, is there a Groupon? Like, if you're in a dangerous cult, what kind of discount can you get for the group?
I'll just get in on coffins together and then drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, exactly.
Just while we're talking about when it came out and stuff like that, you started playing the game too at that point, right?
Yeah, because I could finally announce it.
Yeah.
So Hoyoverse wanted to be very specific on how they announced the actors, which is totally within their right as the video game. They have that right. I was miffed because I was like, can you just announce me so I can start playing the game? because I wanted to stream it. And I remember this because Jackie's also in the game as Xiangling. She was streaming it and doing it. And she was like, well, why don't you just stream it anyway? And I'm like, Jackie, you might be able to get past because she's a big character, but like she's not in every single scene. So I was like, there is no way that I will be able to safely stream this and not break NDA.
Right.
Like at some point I'm going to be like, oh, I remember recording that.
Yeah.
Like,
Now, you actually originally auditioned for a couple other characters, right?
Mm-hmm. So from what I remember, it was Paimon, the female traveler for sure. And then also it was either Amber or Xiangling. I don't know which.
Okay. And I'm assuming you're happy that you got Paimon.
Oh, yeah, I'm very happy. It's definitely very fitting for me, this character. It's also a very fun character to record.
Yeah, it's iconic.
Yeah. Any character where I get to make fun of Zach Aguilar, it's good. I've known Zach Aguilar for over 10 years now. I love that kid. And he is still a kid to me, regardless of him being an adult now.
That's how they always are.
There's always that person in your life where you're just like, you are just perpetually 14. That's it. And that's Zach for me and my husband. We've known Zach for a very long time.
Oh, wow. And if you had been Lumine, you would barely speak.
Yeah.
Has it been intimidating to have the most voice lines and being the game's mascot?
Honestly, I just think it's fitting because I talk that much in real life.
I love it.
So, like, okay, so I have autism and like there's many different types of autistic people. There is a branch of autistic people where silence makes us nervous. So we just keep filling it in until somebody tells us to shut up. And that's what I am. Like, it's so funny when people are like, oh my gosh, Corina, you like talk so much. You must never be nervous. I'm like, I'm talking because I'm nervous. Like if there is no talking, that means bad things are happening. That means people are thinking about how weird I am and I can't let them do that. Like,
I feel so seen.
yeah, that's still something I'm working on with my therapist that I don't think she'll ever be able to break, but
We all have those things.
yeah.
What inspiration do you pull when you're recording for Paimon?
Me when I was 6.
That's awesome. I love it.
You know, when I was a 6-year-old, I had already decided that I wanted to be an actor, and I was very talkative because, of course, I was. And there's a lot of what I see in Paimon as also myself, which is when I was 6, you have to understand, I was the middle child.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I was 6, my parents had already told me they really wanted a boy instead of me. Don't ever tell that to your children. That's really trashy to do. But
Yeah.
so, of course, I went down the very much way I was going to go, which was middle child syndrome, constantly vying for attention. And Paimon very much feels like that to me, where it's like constantly trying to get attention in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's also very much in a childlike way. I mean, like, even though she constantly says Paimon's not a child, but like kids do that all the time. They'll be like, I'm not a kid. And like, it's like, okay.
Yeah, and there is an innocence to Paimon. Everything that she does, it comes from like this earnest place.
Right. Like, regardless of whether even when she's quote unquote being mean, it's still even from an earnest place of like, this child doesn't understand to shut up.
Right, right.
And that definitely was me when I was 6, especially, again, the autism and not understanding like social cues at all. And then on top of it, being an autistic child that doesn't understand social cues, it's just like amplifies it by 11. And then also being an autistic child who doesn't understand social cues, who's also like trying to get attention. Hoo boy. So like it turns into almost like a complete monster on itself. And that's kind of where I draw Paimon of like being this child who's just basically trying to prove herself. She's constantly saying how she's the best travel guide in Teyvat. And yet I have not found evidence of that.
Well, we haven't really found any other travel guides, so I think it's a proven fact.
Very fair. We have not found any other travel guides, but it's really funny that every time we end up in a different place, she doesn't truly know what's around.
Absolutely not.
Which is kind of the basis of being a guide.
Yeah.
She's just the most curious person around. Maybe we should go ask this person something.
Right. It's very much constantly like, oh, we should ask people. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's go ask people, which means let me go ask people.
Since you mentioned that you have your interactions with other characters and stuff, you have some really fun ones too. And like my favorite is Sassy Pants Paimon with Huttow. It's so hysterical. Do you ever get the opportunity to actually record in person, or is it always a separate kind of thing?
So with most video games, and honestly even a lot of cartoons nowadays, we do record separately without the other actor. With Genshin, I've never recorded with another actor.
Oh, wow.
And you know, that's part of the thing that I actually bring up in my acting classes is that like, this is why I'm like, just react as if you would if somebody was actually telling this to you, because they're not going to actually be there. So you need to make it up when you're there. It does help to know who the actor is, because then I can kind of, if I've worked with that actor before, I can kind of be like, oh, I know exactly how Allegra's going to say this line. Same thing with Max Middleman. I'm like familiar with Max Middleman enough. I've worked with him on other projects. And so I'm used to Max's antics, and I think he's kind of used to mine. So it makes it easier to imagine like how he's going to do that. But then also you have the director who also like, you know, directs you in the way of like, right, we did this with Max, so make sure you react like this.
Okay.
That's really impressive, though, Karina, because Paimon has such like a strong dynamic when paired with different characters. So you can tell that like you really do your homework in that way where, you know, if you
Oh, no, I don't. I forget all the time.
You're like, absolutely not.
I will say they're like, obviously with the big characters like Ito, and it's really easy for me to pick up on like, oh, right, Ito, that piece of shit. Like, but yeah, I know exactly where that is. It's when we get into the NPCs, like where I do get confused, where I do have to be like, wait, have I met them before? And how did I feel about them? What happened last time? And so I do have to ask that to like the Hoyo representative sometimes. And then there's sometimes where I'm like, I vaguely remember us meeting this person before. There was actually one time where I saved them because we were doing a storyline and Xinyan comes up and Paimon greets her like they've met each other before. And I was like, we haven't met.
Oh, wow.
And they were like, yes, you have. And I was like, nope, she is announced in the game and she's also available in the game, but Paimon has not officially met her as of the story right now. And they had to like, actually, I was like, go back and look at it. I swear to God, we've not met Xinyan ever. And sure enough, I was right.
Oh, that is so cool.
So we had to record 2 different versions, one where we possibly had met her before and then one where we hadn't.
Oh, wow.
And that happens a lot too. Like I'll have re-records where we have to have the option of like, oh, if we've done a certain quest before this one or after this one, we have to then do that as well. And there are also some times where I'll even be like, wait, hold on. Do we know what this is going to look like on the screen? Because if I say it like this, that means this person is, because it's kind of hard to imagine where people are standing when we don't know what the devs are going to do because we don't have like a visual representation on screen. Like I do sometimes have like little cutscenes that come through, but they're very, very much like almost block characters. Like they are not whatsoever. And we're mostly using that video for timing, not necessarily for anything else. And it's not for any of the major story parts. It's for very small scenes that those are a thing. But there was like the Dragon Spine quest. There was a question of, wait, hold on, with the fake albedo and the real albedo, if we say it like this makes it seem like we are like, I had an argument with my director. I was like, no, if we say it like that, this means we're actually surrounding them, but we're not surrounding them according to this other line 50 lines later. And he was like, no, it does make sense because of this, this, and this. And I'm like, look, I hear you. And that would make sense if it wasn't for this one line over here. So one line has to change or else we need to change the entire thing. We ended up having to change the entire thing because turns out I was right. We're not surrounding the person. And again, this all comes from like, you know, we don't truly know what the devs are going to make. And then also some of it comes to translation. Translation can get really finicky. There's a lot of words in Chinese that can mean many different things in English.
Right.
And so sometimes, and I know this because, so I'm actually fluent in American Sign Language and I used to do live interpretation of American Sign Language.
Wow.
And it's definitely, when you finally do learn another language, you truly do understand the meaning of this is not one-to-one, and it never will be. And if you try to learn a language by associating it with English words, you're learning it wrong. Like you really have to like if you learn the word for a house in a different language, you can't think house in your head sort of thing. And because like I can say, oh, I've been working all day in one sign, versus that took me a whole sentence in English. And the same thing goes for like when you're trying to translate Chinese to English and back. So like things can get confused. And so that's why I flat out am a person where I will say, wait, does that make sense? Sometimes it does. Sometimes it is me, just my brain didn't pick up. Like the director will be like, oh, if you say it like this, where you emphasize this word instead, I'm like, oh, yeah, now it makes sense. But then other times they're like, no, wait, hold on. You do have a point. That actually doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, as the person who records all of these lines, you have access to like a greater context than the person who translated it.
I mean, in a way, I would say we both have like the same amount of context because again, we don't really truly know what the dev meant. And then like also like sometimes I'm like, again, have I seen this person? Do I know who they are? And then I have to ask that and be like, when did we last? There was one time where they were like, oh yeah, you met this person back in 1.1. And I was like, and we are in 4.3, my guy.
Scaramouche.
So I'm like, ooh.
It's so important though that you do that because the fans will nitpick stuff like that, especially in that Suspedo event. If something had been off, everyone would have been like looking into it way too much.
Yeah, and that's why, in a way, although it's like, oh, you're fighting with your director, that seems like not professional. I'm like, no, I promise it's actually professional because I'm really just wanting to make this game as good as it possibly can be. And it's better that I bring it up now because if not, that means we would have to re-record it at a separate time anyway. And that means they're paying me another session. So it actually saves them money, even though it technically is time consuming in that session.
That's very kind of you, because I'd be like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever you want.
And you already have to do a lot of additional lines because sometimes you have to say which sibling it is, right?
Oh, yeah. So basically, when you're recording for anything, you're always at least recording every line twice, just so that they can get a safety. Also, so that the director has two different options to choose from based off of like, oh, because I was there at this other session, it makes more sense with the way they said in the B take because the way that the other actor said it this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then it's also like, so yeah, if there are any pronoun changes because of the male or female traveler, I'm recording it then 4 times.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe more, depending on what the director wants.
You're like, which set did we do already?
I do make it easier on myself. So if the line is particularly long and it's only like the end piece or the beginning piece that has the pronoun shift, I'll only redo the end piece. So that way they'll just tag it on. They'll just like cut it out and then tag it on.
No, it's super smart.
Mm-hmm. Saves a lot of time.
Have you voiced any other like random NPCs or any other like smaller roles in Genshin?
A singular one.
What?
Who was it?
Go to the Yoimiya trailer.
Uh-huh.
There is a woman in that's talking about how great Yoimiya is or how great summer is or something like that. and she has like this short brown hair. That woman. That's the only other character I voice in Genshin.
Wow.
I think I remember that one because I was like, wait a minute.
Yep, that's me.
Sometimes you're like listening to an NPC after you've like played the game, like you're watching a cutscene again. You're like, wait a second, who is that?
So it's funny because originally they did want me to be a lot more NPCs. The problem is that we have to record so much Paimon, and Paimon is required first. Like we have to get that done. And we have to make sure we get that done. That by the time I'm done with Paimon, they've already hired and recorded all the other NPCs. So there's no NPCs left.
You're like, hey, wait a minute, that's not fair.
So the one time that we were done with everything, they only had Yoimiya's like this one random character in the Yoimiya like trailer, and that was it. And I was really actually excited about that because I knew Jenny Yokobori got hired as that character, and she's a good friend of mine. So I was like, okay, at least I'm involved with Jenny in another way.
Now, Paimon has such an emotional connection with the Traveler, especially in that one scene, Sumeru, where Paimon's like, you've been gone for so long.
Mm-hmm.
What is it like playing up that emotion? Is that something that the director's telling you, or is it something you're truly feeling in the moment as someone who's been playing Paimon for 5 years?
I mean, I again, if I'm playing from the idea of me when I'm 6, and I was a leech onto my sister. I constantly say that my sister was the one who truly my sister was my sister was 6 years older than me, or is 6 years older than me because she's still alive. And to this day, me and my sister are super close. And my sister was in charge of like babysitting me, and I was so attached to her. Oh, like, and especially I feel bad for her now as an adult because I'm like, it must have been so annoying being a teenager and having this tiny child that like just wanted to hang out with you all the time because they thought you were so freaking cool because you were the older sister and they wanted to be just like you. And also because my sister was a person who, if I wanted, like my parents were busy. My dad was a pilot, and so he was gone a lot of the time.
Oh, wow.
And then my mom, because like my mom was basically taking care of the house, she had a lot to do with basically just making sure that the house ran smoothly. So it was like, if I wanted to play with somebody, it was usually my sister who was there to hang out with me. So she was my friend. And for me, when I'm in that moment, it's like Paimon is losing their sibling. And especially in a situation where you don't really have cell phones and you don't truly know where they're going, to only imagine in the mind of a 6-year-old what's happening to that other person. Obviously, they must be dead, like the worst must have happened because they didn't return at the time. And then also, now, Paimon themselves is not autistic, but that, or at least has not been told has been autistic. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that, like, regardless of whether the character is autistic or not, I'm still me, and that will never change. And like me personally, I'm very particular about times because I actually have, I have like a severe anxiety when people say they're going to be home at a certain time and they're not. And this was something that I had to work out with my husband. I was like, look, you can be late. That's fine. But you have to call me and update me.
Yeah.
And like, no. So like, I kind of understand that whole, like, you said you were going to be back.
Right.
And you weren't. And I thought you were dead. And I almost called the cops. And like, and I don't even like cops. And yes, Bird. And so, because like that's the main thing with Paimon is that I think like her biggest fear is being alone.
Oh,
she was already alone for however much time, because again, I don't know what happened before she started drowning in the ocean.
Right.
So I can only imagine that it was a really long time that she was alone, and that when she found the Traveler, it was a mutual, like, the Traveler needed somebody who kind of at least knew this land, a little bit, and Paimon needed a friend.
I loved it because, Paimon's first introduced. I think you spend a lot of the early parts of the game being a little suspicious of, like, is Paimon going to be bad? Because there's so much that they don't tell you.
Yep.
And I think when Sumeru kind of rolled around, like, we're starting to see this evolution of Paimon and the Travelers' emotional connection where they really are best friends. Yeah. And that is sort of like touching on our emotion, like pulling on our heartstrings a little bit as the story goes on. So I love that that's sort of the evolution of, where we're kind of like, who is Paimon? What's going on? And now I feel like we're kind of emotionally invested in Paimon and the Traveler together.
For sure. And I like, you can only, their bond's only going to get stronger the more they spend time together.
Yeah.
I think canonically, and I could be wrong, so because it was so long ago that we did this, but like when they're first talking about that beginning about how, like, you fished me out of the ocean, I think canonically at that time that was 6 months prior. So by that point they'd only known each other for like around 6 months.
Right.
And now they've known each other for over 4 years-ish. Yeah, so it's a much bigger connection than it was at the beginning because of that.
And just throwing it out there because it's really interesting, the Genshin Impact manga is said to have taken place 6 months to 1 year prior to the game starting. So it's interesting to think that Paimon the Traveler might have just been meeting as the manga came to an end. It's kind of a little curiosity there.
Yeah.
Speaking of Paimon and the fact, like, a lot of people have thought that maybe she's evil, maybe she's not. In the past, you've talked about how Paimon's not smart enough to be an evil character. Do you still feel that way? Not breaking NDA here. But...
Right. I mean, I truly don't know what's going to happen in the end. They, like, the Huttow could come back and be like, yeah, she's evil. And I'll be like, oh, okay, well then I've been playing this wrong the entire time. I truly still don't think she is myself, and that's my own personal opinion on it. And again, because I truly don't know, because Hotowverse doesn't tell me things I don't need to know. It's been my theory, and this is purely a theory. This is not confirmed whatsoever. This is my own thought about what might happen, not canon at all.
Right.
Is that you will have to sacrifice Paimon.
Oh no.
No.
She really will be emergency food.
No.
Oh, no.
I think that that's brought up as a joke, and then like it's gonna be this really heart-wrenching moment where Paimon's gonna turn to you and be like, "You need to use me as emergency food," and then you're
Yeah, she's going to be like, it's okay, you could do it.
fine. Like, yeah, I think it's really gonna be a heart-wrenching moment.
I'm gonna sob.
The game comes full circle in a way we didn't expect.
Feeny,
Yeah.
you're going to love that because Feeny loves like making up tragic headcanon.
Yeah, I do too.
I just always assume it's gonna be sad. I'm gonna have to like call out from work when this game ends. They're gonna be like, "Where's Amanda?" And I'll be like, "Genshin ended." But on that note, is there a path you'd like to see Paimon go to?
I honestly would like to see that ending.
Okay, I love that.
I would cry, but
Mhm.
that's kind of secretly the ending I'm hoping for. Only because I kind of do want to throw it in people's face that be like, yeah, you're wrong about her being evil and you're evil for even thinking that. You know?
I feel like I'm always on that side because I'm like, she's not evil. She's just our little friend.
I've never thought she was evil just because I felt like it was too obvious in a way.
Yeah.
And she's too cute.
Yeah, I love Paimon.
Also, I truly think that if she was evil, they would have had me voice that unknown god character instead of Christy Kate.
That's a good
That's
point.
true.
So ChiChi's evil.
Yeah, Chi-Chi's the evil.
The zombie.
Do you have a favorite Paimonism or like a favorite line of Paimons that you've had to do?
I have a ton. A few of them are like, have you tried turning it off and on again? And the reason why that one is one of them is because that was me making an IT crowd joke, and I didn't think they'd put it in the game.
Oh, wow.
I showed that to my significant other, and he was shaking from laughter.
Yeah.
It was the one time that my husband audibly laughed at the game and was like, that was the funniest shit I've ever heard. My husband works in the IT thing as well, so he's constantly saying, try turning it off and on again. Okay, great. And it was also the height of the pandemic where he was getting calls from actors every day being like, I don't know why Source Connect isn't working. And he's like, turn it off and on again. And so like that. And then me being the nerd that I am, I loved IT crowd. And so I was like, oh yeah, you just have to turn it off and on again. The token will work. That will definitely be a thing. And so I was just making that reference because like a lot of the time, especially, you know, I mean, everybody in any job, you know, you have to kind of break up the monotony sometimes. And like, I will do a version of the line that I only expect will be funny in the moment. And it's not really me doing it. Like I'll do improv sometimes where I'm like, oh my God, you have to use that. It fits. It works. It's part of the whole thing. This was not one of those. I truly was just doing it for the funny and for the moment.
That is so funny.
I don't even remember what the original line was, but like, yeah, it was literally me doing an IT crowd reference and the director loved it. And he was like, have that as the main, but put the regular one as the alt like we normally do. And I'm like, there's no way Huttow is going to do that. You're dumb. And then it was in the game and I was like, oh my God.
I remember seeing that and thinking like, I wonder if that was an intentional IT crowd reference.
Yep, that was actually an intentional IT crowd reference. There was also in Huttow's script at one point, like Paimon goes, "There's a lot to unpack there," and that was after me literally on the floor crying from laughter about the whole 2-for-1 gift coupon or whatever. And my brain was like, that was also because Paimon, I think, only was supposed to be like speechless. And I teased it too. There's a lot to unpack there. That was an improv for me. There was one that wasn't improv, but I thought it was hilarious. And it was, yeah, so maybe back off a bit, bro. I thought it was hilarious. I've been now my input into what goes into the script is like literally almost zero. You know, like I can improv all I want, but at the end of the day, it's decided on what Hotowverse wants is going to be put in the script. And I've been trying to get them to put sus in the script forever, and they still agreed to it, Hotto. But then when they got to bro, I started laughing hysterically at that line because I was like, I didn't improv that. You put that in there. That's so modern. Why can't I say sus?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was so mad. So it was like a half me laughing at the fact that I said bro, and also me half laughing because I was mad at Hoyoverse.
Hoyo, bring us the sus, please.
Yeah.
They've brought a lot of sus.
Can we take just a moment to talk about the best character in Fontaine, which is Detective Paimon?
Yes.
We love it so much.
She needs her own spin-off.
Yeah.
So that one also, I didn't necessarily improv. I loved, that was another script that I truly loved because like we got to that part where, Paimon is in the courtroom and bringing up all the evidence. And so I had said, and it was like these big, long chunks of lines, right? That I had to do where I'm laying out the evidence. And so I had said, I'm just going to do Ace Attorney for this. And then both the director and the Hoyoverse supervisor that was on the call was like, what's Ace Attorney? And I was like, you got me. Oh no. I was like, you work in video games and you don't know what Ace, like, you don't even have to play it. You have to know it though.
Yeah.
Like, what? And so I was like, okay, we're going to take a break because you both are breaking my heart. 10-minute break. Hoyoverse person and Chris, you're both going to go on YouTube right now during the break. You're going to look up Ace Attorney clips. And then when I come back, you're going to say if that's what you want or not. And so, yeah, when we came back from the break, the Hoyoverse employee was like, yeah, that's exactly what we want. And I'm like, great. And so I remember this too, because I was pointing my finger at the screen and I was really getting into it. And the sound engineer thought it was so funny that he took a picture of me and I posted it online. So you can find it on my Instagram or my Twitter, my bird's Twitter online right now of me. And it's like me literally doing that it almost looks like I'm saying objection. Yeah, where I'm pointing the finger, and it's a great photo of me in the booth. And I'm also happened to be wearing an Electro shirt on that day. I have like multiple different Elementals shirts. And so, yeah, I'm wearing an Electro shirt that day when we were recording that.
I love that.
I love it.
You can hear in your voice like how much fun you're having when you're doing Detective Paimon.
Oh, yeah.
It's so infectious. I love it.
Were you still surprised though when you actually saw it and she jumped up with those glasses? Did you expect that?
Yeah, I didn't know those were actually going to be a thing. So, because they constantly talk about how, like, they kept on teasing that, they're going to give, like, Paimon a mask in one of the Inazuma events, but then it never happened. And so I just assumed that, they're talking about some glasses. Yeah, I was honestly more distracted by the fact that Paimon said that she bought it with her own funds.
Yeah.
I was like, you've had your own funds this whole time? Why are we still spending my Fuck you. So I think I was just too distracted by that to even realize. And then, like, yeah, when you're playing the game, it's like, oh no, they actually gave her glasses. Oh wow. And I think we need to all petition that it needs to be like be able to be toggled on and off whenever you want.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Like I stopped in my tracks when it happened because I think I was crying laughing so much. It's one of my it's a screensaver on my computer too because it brings me so much joy.
Other than their relationship with the Traveler, do you have a favorite Paimon relationship?
It's definitely with Ito.
Yes.
It was originally Tone Deaf Bard.
Yes.
With the amount of fuckery that those two go through and like go on about each other, it's just really great. And then also knowing that it's Max on the other side. So I know that when it's Ito, I can go as crazy as I want because I know Max is going as crazy as he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's funny, too, because when we first started saying bull chucker, I flat out was like, is that like a slur in Teyvat? Because it sounds fun.
It sounds it, yeah.
It does. It sounds almost
to
naughty.
this day, I'm like, I feel like it is. So I've just been treating it like what?
Yeah.
That's terrible, but also I don't know how else to treat that because he also gets so offended by it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, well, it's because he's saying a slur back. Lavender melon clearly is a slur.
Yeah.
To go back to that, how much fun was it to record you guys singing the ballad?
Okay, so this happened, and I remember this because I have been begging for Hoyoverse to make Paimon sing since day one. I was like, let her sing, it'll be so fun, it'll be so cute. And like, first of all, I'm a professional singer, but also I can sing in that Paimon voice. I can do that because, like, actually, that's like the one thing that I do get as a comment when I am singing is, Corina, this character's not a professional like you. Tone it down on the professionalism. Like, I got this when we got to sing for the Somnium Files. They were like, so you need to not be as good as Jackie because Jackie's the professional singer and your character's not. And I was like, darn it, that sucks. I've been trained in it since I was like 5 and trained in opera. And but yeah, when you're singing as a character, that's a whole different skill because you have to do it in their voice in the way they would. So not only do I have to put it in like Paimon's version, we also have to add on the fact that she's singing. It's a kid singing. It's Paimon Singing who's claiming she's the best, but she's not. And and then also Paimon has a little bit of a lisp.
Yeah.
So then we have to add that in there too. And then on top of it, it's funny because like Max also is a professional singer as well. And so it's like, but this is Ito's version of singing, so it can't be as good as he actually is in real life. So it just makes it more fun. So like it was mainly me being like, okay, remember, this is me just being more mad at Ito because he's taking my spotlight. So that was like the whole. Also, I got to work with Greg Chen again. He did the music for the English side, which was so much fun. And I love Greg, and he's so talented. And I remember this too because we were working with one of the Hoyoverse people that I had been with for a long time, but at that point he was working with a lot of the other actors, and he actually was in on that session. And I was like, "Oh my God, you're here! I haven't seen you in like a year, my guy." And he was like, "Of course I'm going to be here when you finally get to sing as Paimon. You've been begging for it since day one." And I was like, "Yay!" And it was just a lot of fun with that.
That music was so good. I loved it. Was so like late 80s, early 90s power ballad. It was perfect.
Yeah. And then also it was especially fun because they did give me the music in advance. They gave me the wrong song.
Oh no.
So I'm literally there with Greg, and he's showing me the song, and I was like, great, cool. I'd never heard that before. And he's like, I thought you said they gave you the music. And I was like, clearly they made a mistake.
Oh no.
Which does happen. It happens. But it's also not the first time that I've had to learn a song on the fly. So it was a great moment for both of us.
Just to kind of take a little bit of a turn, you're very open about your health, and especially like living with Crohn's disease. Have you found it very rewarding to kind of like share that side of yourself? You know, you have a big audience within TikTok and Twitch, all socials and stuff like that. And you're just such a powerful voice for people who are dealing with like, especially like autoimmune diseases and stuff.
It's definitely kind of like a double-edged sword sort of thing, because like I've been very lucky in the fact that Hoyoverse has been very cool. Anytime I've been sick, they have been above and beyond when it comes to either waiting for me or like working around that schedule. Because especially within the past few years, Crohn's disease has like kind of hit a resurgence in my health a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And so it's been on the decline lately, and I'm like, cool, again. Yay. Which is, is going to happen in my life. But at the same time, like me coming, I remember earlier in my career, I was flat out told by like my mom and some of my agents at the time, don't be public about that.
Oh, really?
Don't be public about that. And the reason why, and I totally see it, because like they were worried of my bookability.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember this specifically because 10 years ago, oh my God, yeah, 10 years ago, I was on a Got Milk commercial set, and I actually was sick on that set, and I ended up going to the hospital because I couldn't stop vomiting in between takes.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And I remember telling the director, I think I caught the flu on the plane ride or something, because they flew me out to New York for it. And then, so they bring in the nurse that they have to legally have on set for those things. And she's like, this isn't the flu. And I was like, I think it is. And she was like, so I'm under HIPAA. You can tell me what it really is. I cannot legally tell anybody else what's going on. And I finally like broke down crying to this nurse saying, I have Crohn's disease. I'm having a flare up and I don't know what to do because I'm going to have to go to the hospital and they're going to have to recast.
Mhm.
And I was I was like, this is my first big commercial ever.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to have to recast. And I was like, just crying to this nurse. And she was like, so yeah, we will have to send you to I'm going to send you to the hospital regardless of if you tell me or not. So I'm glad you told me because this is like, you need help. And so I was like alone in New York with like, just like one other random, like basically person who was in charge of taking me to the emergency room. And I was 21 at the time.
Oh.
And that person on set, I remember that person because the nurse basically was like, so can I trust you also not to spread the news about what's actually happening with our actor? Because, and they to their credit, they also kept claiming, oh yeah, it was the flu.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great.
Props to that guy because he's not under HIPAA, but he basically stayed with me and stayed with me that whole night. And I was like going back and forth on the phone with my agent, crying to them, being like, I'm going to have to be recast, aren't I? And she's like, well, hold on. Like, let me see. And like, I basically worked it out with the doctor where I was like, okay, I know it's Crohn's disease. I know it's a flare up. Just give me these medications and then release me because I have to go back and film for a commercial. And luckily, two things happened. The doctor worked with me. And then the producer, who basically came in apparently later that day, saw the work that I did do earlier that day and was like, they did all of that while throwing up between takes. We'll wait.
Yes.
Which does not happen. That literally, like the fact that they were able to look at my work and see how well I did while I was that sick, like literally, it's this old got milk commercial where I'm literally like buzzing in and telling all the ingredients of soy milk or something, and like you don't see this, but because I'm like at a podium with a buzzer, below me was a bucket that I was literally throwing up in.
Oh man.
In between those takes. And so the fact that he was able to look at that and say, like, they did that good while they were that sick. Yeah, I'm waiting for them.
Mm-hmm.
I will spend the money to wait for them.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Because, like there's like a saying in Hollywood that like for every minute on set, it's like at least $10,000.
Oh my God.
So that's a lot of money that he's spending to wait for me.
Right. Well, personally, thank you for being vocal about Crohn's. I have a really close friend that has it, and I don't think people realize like how debilitating it can be until it like affects you personally. So I love that you're open about it.
I even remember being honest about it with a few other people, and they were like, oh, well, it only causes these little things. And I'm like, yeah, if it's mild.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, if it's not mild, like this stuff can happen. And then I'm telling them. And then I'm also like, even just regular days where I'm just like so exhausted, like I will get 12 hours of sleep and I will still feel like I did not sleep at all.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky to have a good support system of people, because that's the thing I think also people don't realize with disabled people. Like I had said on Twitter at one point, do not sit there and tell another disabled person, well, Corina did it, so you can't do. Because not everybody has the support system that I did. Not everybody grew up with the privilege that I had, because like, although I definitely don't have the privilege of my parents being rich anymore because I don't talk to them and I'm pretty sure I'm not in the will anymore. But at the time when I was younger, they did pay for everything.
Right.
And I'm, regardless of me talking to them or not, I'm eternally grateful for the fact that they did that. And not everybody is able to have parents that are able to do that. And so it's a completely different situation for every different disabled person. And behind every disabled person that is successful, they had an extreme support system basically holding them up the entire time and being able to help them. And I think that's what the able-bodied people don't see, is that like, if it wasn't for my husband, I wouldn't be able to be an actor. I wouldn't. I would not be able to, because the only reason why I'm able to be here is because of him, and then a lot of my friends who have also helped me, and my sister.
That's wonderful. I'm great to hear that.
Especially in America, you really need a support system in America.
Because you're not going to give it from the government for sure. so crazy to me when people are like, well, why don't you just go on disability? I'm like, you are in poverty when you're on disability.
Yeah.
They don't register that. Like, people, first of all, like when you can't apply for disability if you have more than $10,000 in assets. It doesn't even matter if it's in your bank account or not. But I remember I got denied because my grandfather bought me a car, and that car was worth more than $10,000. So I was denied disability.
Wow.
Yeah, not
Just
surprised.
because of the car. And I'm like, I'm sorry, the car can't pay my bills.
Exactly.
The registration says gift. Did you not see that? Like,
It was a gift, but because I still technically own it, they're like, nope. And it's like $10,000 in the bank account. Don't get me wrong, that a good savings, but it is a very small savings.
yeah.
And one doctor's bill, and that's gone.
Yeah, one hospital visit and you're done.
The fact that the government can look at that and be like, nah,
I think Teyvat has better healthcare, honestly.
right?
Go to Dr. Baiju.
Just get ChiChi to resurrect you and you're good.
Yeah, exactly.
Get a C6 ChiChi. But like, it boggles my, like, even now, like, with COVID and stuff like that, I still have to be very careful. And
Of course.
I've been masking on planes since I was 16 because I had 3 generations of pilots in my family. I know how disgusting planes were before even COVID was a thing. So like anytime that I actually remember to take my mask, because ADHD sometimes makes me forget, I will always mask on a plane, and that's just the case. But like, even then, I do go to conventions mostly just because, like, I have to make money in some way, shape, or form. And unfortunately, you are going to make more money at a convention when you're not masking. And that's just the truth. And that sucks because I would love to still mask.
Right.
I can imagine that.
But I have bills to pay as well. And it's like, as a disabled person, and this is the thing that disabled people have to make a choice. Even before COVID, it's a daily choice for them, is like, how much am I willing to risk to be able to make money so that way I can bring that home? But that means also I'm taking away from being able to take care of myself.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, is why my husband is so important to me in my life, because my husband works a full-time job and then comes home and like cleans the entire apartment. And I will work a half day and I'll be like, I'm so sorry, I'm dead and I can't help you.
Right.
And it is what it is. And he's so forgiving and he's so loving because he does see the little bits that I'm able to do when I do finally have the energy to help. And he even is like, you already helped enough. You did 3 things. And I'm like, yeah, but you did 16. And he's like, you did 3. You need to sit down because if you do more, you're just going to get sick. And then you won't be able to help me at all.
Yeah.
And so he's very cognizant on reminding me, like, you only have a certain amount of spoons, Corina.
Yes.
Like, we cannot go into the negatives again. And
Yeah.
he's very good about making me feel like the little bit that I am able to do is enough.
No, that's sweet.
That is.
Sweet and important. And honestly, more people should be like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Especially, I think a lot of able-bodied people like to think that they would totally be cognizant of disabled people. But the fact of the matter is, as you had said, you don't really understand the amount of it until it personally happens to you.
Right.
Speaking of your home unit and stuff, you have 2 other important people in your apartment.
You might have heard them already.
Do they ever mimic any of your character voices?
So although Green Cheeks Conyers do have, like, some of them can talk, not every parrot does talk. It really does depend on, personality. That being said, Zulu likes to match pitch.
Okay.
Oh,
Noise, sometimes it gets her really excited, and then she tries to match with it, and she's sleeping right now, like, across the room. So I'm wondering if she'll even do it right now, although they're now preening each other, so of course. Yeah, she's resting.
I heard it.
I'm sure you heard them. Oh, there it was. Hi.
Oh my gosh.
It's
so sweet.
That's so cute.
It's so funny because my husband likes to claim, oh my God, that high-pitched voice bothers me. I'm like, you wanted the birds more than I did. You chose to be with me, so I think you're lying.
As someone who also has exotic pets, or because I have 9 crested geckos which is a lot.
Yeah.
And they're all named after Genshin, except for the 5 littlest ones. But knowing that you like birds and there's a large bird community, is there a species of bird that you would love to adopt?
I really want to get an Indian ringneck.
Ooh.
Whoa.
I want to get one so bad. They look so derpy and so fun. And they are more likely to talk than green cheek conures. Not like I'm actually kind of okay with the fact that my green cheek conures don't talk, because I've had several black friends joke that they're going to teach them slurs and make me look bad. And I'm like, oh, please don't. And they're like, nah, it's reparations. And I'm like, you know what? That's very fair, but please. I'm lucky in that regard so much. But I really do want an Indian ringneck. They come in different colors. And also I've been following this girl, Bridget, who's in Australia, that has an Indian ringneck named Hamlet. And I'm obsessed with him. Like and it's quite funny too, because like almost every Indian ringneck that knows how to talk or can talk, or you know what, any bird that knows how to talk, they all know the term, "What are you doing?" And it was funny because I thought that was like, I used to wonder why almost every bird that can talk knows the words, what are you doing? And then I got a bird, and it's this bird climbing on her glasses.
It's just all the, what doing?
What doing? What doing? And it's like, yeah, because we're constantly asking that. Because like, so I now have, I have Zulu and Lima. Zulu's a really smart bird, and Lima is the dumbest animal I've ever experienced in my life. Like, it's not just dumb for birds, it's dumb in general. And I've never met an animal that specifically got into a predicament where they could potentially die and they did not make any noise.
Oh, no.
Oh, what happened?
Yeah, so I all of a sudden noticed, like, anytime your birds are quiet, and you can't physically see them, that's a bad idea. That's a bad idea. And I was like, wait, hold on. Zulu's been here. Where's Lima? And it's been 30 minutes.
Oh, no.
And I'm not hearing anything. So I check the usual places because he likes to hang out in the bathroom where it's dark by himself for some reason. I still don't know why. Wasn't there. And he wasn't in the room. And I could not find him anywhere in the living room. So now I'm starting to panic. It's getting to about 45 minutes. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't find this fucking bird. And he's not. And I'm screaming, hoping that like maybe Zulu will make a noise and then he'll respond to Zulu. Nothing.
Oh,
and then
no.
it's to an hour, and I'm like texting my husband who's at work, and I'm like, I can't find Lima, and I think he's dead. And I'm like, did I leave the door open and he magically flew out? Because I do practice recall with my birds, but Lima's so stupid that I don't think he understands. That's what it is that I'm teaching. And so I'm like, oh my God, like if Zulu ever got out and didn't come back, that would be sad, but I think she could survive. If Lima got out and never got back, he'd be dead. And so I'm like thinking the worst, and now it's getting to an hour and 30 minutes, and I'm like hyperventilating. And I'm like actively, I'm thinking my roommate must hear me at this point, and I can't find him. And then all of a sudden I'm walking past, and I see in the glimmer of my eye something yellow in a dark corner, and he's in between the bookshelf and the wall.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, okay, are you just hanging out there? Because you're not screaming or anything, so you're fine, right? And I'm like, you can come out. So I try to put my finger in there, and he tries to get on and he can't get out. He's actually wedged in there.
Oh no.
And so I text my husband, and I'm like, I found the dummy. He's wedged between the bookshelf and the wall, and I don't know how I'm going to move this bookshelf by myself. And then luckily my roommate came through, and it's like, and he's like seeing me trying to move the bookshelf that's huge and heavy. And he's like, oh, do you need help? And I'm like, yeah, Lima's stuck between the wall and the bookshelf. And he's like, what?
He just wanted to read. Just wanted a good book.
He was trying to get smarter.
So he's actually made a path behind some of my books. And like, I didn't know this, but he ripped out all the pages from behind them. So now I have my books flipped the other way.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
And now, like, I can't read. Like, I'm pretty sure it was all of my Hunger Games books that he hollowed out.
No.
He just really had it out for Katniss.
Not happy with the ending.
Nope. And but yeah, he was stuck between the wall and I'm trying to move it because like if Zulu gets stuck anywhere, it is obvious. She is screaming for me to come and help, but he just shut up and I'm like, I've never met an animal that does that.
Yeah, that self-preservation where?
Just accepted their fate.
Maybe he was embarrassed.
He's also several times like my husband will have, and it's always my husband's food. Not sure why it's that. He landed in my husband's hot coffee, giving himself burns.
Oh my God.
Luckily, only first degree, so we were good on that. But it also tripped the coffee over onto his laptop, and now he doesn't have a delete key anymore. And then also, he decided that he was going to go swimming in really hot pho.
Oh,
no.
No.
And it was my husband's pho.
Oh.
And I'm like, I don't understand.
Lima is going through something.
He's so stupid. I wish I could say it was something like, oh, maybe he's just going through something. But like at the same time, it's gotten to the point where like he will alert call because parents have an alert call to alert the rest of like the flock. Like, hey, this is something scary. Stay away from this. And Zulu does that every now and then over something stupid, but not to the level that Lima does. Like it used to be when we first got Lima would alert call and Zulu would join in because that's her natural instinct to do. She got so sick of his shit though that she doesn't do it anymore. She learns that even he is just a crybaby and he's good. Like she'll sit there and just keep eating her food while Lima's like, oh my God, it's a water bottle. To the point that I'm making, like he's so dumb that at one point I was wondering why he was alert calling and I was because I was doing a puzzle on the floor and I would bend down to go do it and then I'd get back up and he'd alert call. He has no object permanence because I learned that when I bend down, I was hiding behind the coffee table. Oh, so he literally forgot that I was there.
Oh.
Would be like, oh my God, where did you come from? I love him so much, but he, like Zulu, no problem. He has no ability to stay alive.
Lima's looking at you from the corner like, I know you're talking about me, but I don't know what you're saying.
He doesn't register that either. Zulu knows what I'm talking about. Her Lima does have no idea.
I know we're coming to the end of our interview today, but are there any upcoming conventions, shows, appearances, or anything you're doing that you want to let travelers listening in know?
So besides Anime Iowa, the week after that, I have AmaCon in Texas. And then I also have CadabraCon in October. And then I also stream every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific time on Twitch. And you just have to look for my name, Corina Boettger. It's mostly The Sims right now. And it's mostly The Sims of my voice actor friends. So I have like my friends Kaylee and Kevin in there right now. I have Brianna who said that she wanted to marry Astarion. So I put Astarion in the game and she's going to become a vampire soon.
Yes.
I have Koi and Laura, and currently Koi is trying to take down the government by being a hacker.
That sounds accurate.
Yeah, and he has 4 cats currently, and one of them is named Zach Magular. And that's actually my second iteration of me making them because the first time I didn't realize there's like a thing in Sims 4 where while you're playing a different family, if you don't have a certain thing turned off, everything else will also age.
Yep.
So Zach, this is the second iteration because all of them died.
Oh my.
Oh no.
And that was really sad and I didn't know what happened.
I've been building out the Genshin characters on The Sims, and that happened to me. And I was like building out the Archons and like my Mondstadt house. I was like, why is Kaya old? Wait, what? What happened to you?
Why do they also age faster? Like, I have it on long, and all of them age like 4 times as fast in the other houses. And I'm like, why?
Are there any socials or anything you want listeners to follow you on to keep in touch?
You can follow my birds on what was formerly known as Twitter at the Bird Zulu. And then I'm on Instagram, Corina.Boettger. And I'm also on TikTok, just Corina Boettger.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Corina, again for coming and spending your evening with us. Travelers, please feel free to email us at talesoftevatpod@gmail.com to let us know what you thought of this week's episode and to say hi to Corina. You can also follow us on Tales of Teyvat Pod on Instagram or Tales of Teyvat on Twitter. Additionally, please remember that we just launched a Discord server in conjunction with the Shade Chamber called Shades of Teyvat. And if you're interested in joining, you can click the link in the episode description, one on our website, or from a link in bio on our socials. Otherwise, till next time, safe journeys, travelers. We'll see you then.
Bye, guys.
Bye, bird nerds.
Sweet, sweet game.